Hello, Forever family. I'm Jamie. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. Hey, I have many struggles. Tonight I'm going to talk about many of those struggles, but saying grateful believer in Jesus Christ means a lot more to me. I've mentioned this before to y'all. When I first started coming to Celebrate Recovery, I would listen to people telling this title before their name, and I didn't want to get it wrong. Wait, what? Did they say I'm a Christ follower? A Christian? What were these cult-like people spewing off? First, let me set the scene. When we moved down here from Pennsylvania, I threw myself into a church and then Celebrate Recovery. I'm not going to lie, I was very skeptical and very untrusting, jaded, if you will. The only thing I had in me at that time was hope. So, okay, I get it. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. Got it, I didn't want anyone to think I was a fool. I mean, in AA, I was deemed Jamie the alcoholic. I didn't want to be wrong about myself. But today, 4.5 years later, I can stand confident in front of you, not in myself because I stand here shaking, but in the fact that with the small steps of that hope that brought me through those doors, I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and He is my Savior. I stand here knowing that I am saved and that someday I will be in heaven with my Father. That is a gift from Him, and God alone gets the glory. Ephesians 2:8-9, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Step 12, having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs. I will never forget the day that I was saved. June 15th, 2023. If you're a believer and are saved, you will never forget that moment. Step 12 states, having had a spiritual experience. Imagine being asked this question, are you ready to die right now? Then that's preceded by, if you leave right now, do you trust that I will take care of them? And in full surrender, you let go of the fake control you had and you trust. A spiritual experience is a personal experience with the Lord, and words will never be able to explain it. But isn't that God once you are a believer? There are no words that can come close to describing Him. I think awesome, as in utter awe, amazing and glorious are closest that can come out of my mouth. But the best part, He knows my heart. So the only reason I try to describe Him is for someone that does not know Him. So tonight I ask, are you a grateful believer? My story starts when I was born. Ha ha, dad joke. Actually before I was born, because Psalm 139, 13-14 states, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My life before I was a believer. When I look at my first testimony, I see pain. I see the me that was going through the process, hanging on with faith that God would help me through it. I see the me that was not saved. Little did I know that was just the beginning of my recovery journey. Now, I see God's redemptive power and just how much He has worked in my life, and I'm so thankful for that. So the pain. I was a hurting, broken kid that grew to be a hurting, broken adult that had acquired bad habits and hang-ups. The end. You can leave now. I'm just kidding. You're not going anywhere. As a child, I grew up in a dysfunctional family with parents that had also grown up in dysfunctional families. There was physical and mental abuse. There was abandonment and heartbreak. I was a child to drug-addicted parents. I came from a broken home, and we moved to new places more than I can count. To be honest, my childhood seemed loveless. I mean, Phil gives more hugs in a day than I can ever remember receiving as a child. Thank you, Phil. That was the start of the walls that grew taller as time went on. As a teenager, I did well in school. Getting a C was like the worst thing that could happen to me. My stepfather was very abusive, physically and mentally. I'll never forget him forcing me on the scale and proceeding to tell me that I was as heavy as his 6-foot-tall brother and that I was fat. Insert insecurity here. I remember feeling like nothing I did ever seemed like enough to my mom and my stepfather. My biological father had a massive stroke when I was 16. He was on life support and was not expected to make it through. This was due to methamphetamines. My mother and stepfather started making a family that didn't seem like we were part of. My little sister and my brother came along, my brother from the same father, and I felt like we were in their way. Then I remember being angry. How responsible are these people that we live in a 2-bedroom apartment and they keep popping out all these humans? Now where are we going to move? And we did move yet again. In high school, I chased relationships a lot, and I mean a lot. I got with the wrong crowd and started experimenting with drugs. When I was in 11th grade, I was betrayed to the very core of my being. I'm trying to put some 17-year-old dramatic effect there that Emma would say, that I'm very dramatic when I say this. But what I thought were friends lied, and that flat-out lie tore my heart to pieces, and I just wanted to die at that time. The only option at that time seemed to be that I must run, that I should drop out, and I did. That would later be one of my biggest regrets in life. I did get my GED, however, that was not like seeing high school through. I left home when I was 17, and I didn't just walk, I ran. I was determined to never be like those people. I was going out into the big world, and I was going to show them. Young adult. When I left home, I moved into a rooming house. Think low-budget motel with shared bathrooms. That was interesting to say the least, and I had stories for days. I worked a few jobs, which kept me busy. When I was 18, I had my eyes set on this older man that also lived at this rooming house. I didn't go too far, and my sights were locked already. Remember that insecure child? Well, she was just taller. Here was a guy, not a boy, that showed me attention. I jumped in. We were together for 13 years. What I can say is that was the most stability that I ever had in my entire life. I played adult well. We had a simple, quiet life together. After growing up a bit, I started to resent him. How could a 31-year-old go out with an 18-year-old? I was a child. There was a lot with that breakup. In hopes to break it off, I told him that I loved him, but I wasn't in love with him. He threatened to take his life if I left him. I proceeded to cheat on him, and that was in hopes that he wouldn't want to be with me. Rational thinking there, right? The truth is, I broke his heart. I did end up leaving him, and it was very hard. Adulthood. When I left my ex, I was 31 and starting out on my own again. This time, I would get it right. Now, there was no one to answer to. I'll never forget my husband asking me if I thought maybe I had daddy issues, and that's why I had been with my ex. Ew, gross. So getting back, I digress. Now I was able to catch up for my 20s that I never experienced when I was playing house. It was fun. Then the fun became tiring. It was hard to have fun and focus on my job. So I chose to focus on working more. Chasing the money and the titles, I excelled at my job and was promoted quite a few times. I remember that became old too, doing my job as well as other people's jobs as well. Something that I left out in my testimony before was another addiction that I had. Through CR, I was able to look at that. We grow up in a world that programs us to think that there is that one true love. You know, Cinderella and the glass slipper, diamonds are a girl's best friend. So every feeling that I had for a man was addicting. I was addicted to the feeling of what I thought being in love was. You just had to have that woo-woo feeling or it was not right. Keep that in mind as I continue. There came a time when I was like, there has to be more to life. I set my sights on finding that true love. When I met my husband, there was that feeling, that rush. This is what falling into true love felt like. It had to be right. We were just about the same age, but he will make sure to tell you that he is a year younger. We had the same things in common and wanted the same things in life. He was sweet, and bonus, so was his family. We got married a year later, and I was pregnant with Emma 4 months after the wedding. We bought our first home the following year. Warp speed, busy, busy. Happily ever after, the end. Stop it, you're still not going anywhere. Kevin worked second shift, and it was almost like we were single parents, him included. I would have the kids at night, and he would have them during the day. It was very hectic for the both of us. Both working full-time and taking care of little kids. We mastered the schedule. However, there seemed to be something missing. There was. I missed my husband, but we just kept going. I was very successful at my job, and the kids were alive. All a plus. We made it. We made it. We were two adults living the dream. This is about the time that I started drinking. I could relax a bit now. Little did I know that this relaxation was just the slide into a downward spiral. Anyone that knows about drugs knows that you have to use more and more for the same effect. And that's what happened. I used to look down on people that were addicted to things, to drugs. I thought that it was just a lack of willpower. Well, needless to say, I do not believe that anymore. I was an addict, period. Drinking made me not care as much or about much. I was able to do the bare minimum and get by. I thought I was fine. Fast forward 5 years later, to not have the shakes in the morning, I would drink before going to work. I hit a lot. I was alive, but at the same time, I was dead. All I cared about was if I had a drink. That was exhausting. The very thing that I just said I started in order to relax was absolutely exhausting. It was like I was empty, just a shell of myself. I remember thinking, it just couldn't get worse, and then it did. With a phone call, my life changed. It was the call from my mom to tell me that my little brother, 28 years old, had killed himself. That was my wake-up call. That was my rock bottom. My mom needed me. I had to dry out if I was going to help. I went to AA for a year, and I stayed sober. I downplay that time. It was hard. For the first time in my life, I was accountable in saying, "Hi, I'm Jamie, and I am an alcoholic." They talked about seeking a higher power there. Well, since I was a kid, I would pray to Jesus. But honestly, I didn't know much about that guy. And it's funny to think about now because I believe that guy saved me from a lot throughout my entire life. So at this point, I was going to start talking to him again. Jesus, if you're there, I need your help. Those prayers started my relationship with him. I was sober for a little over a year when we moved down here. That is what AA did. It helped me stay sober. When we moved down here, we brought my mom and started fresh. We found First Christian Church of Clemmons. I believe God's hand was in that. I've said it many times before. He placed us where we are. There was prayer, there was listening, and there was action. That brings me to Celebrate Recovery and this journey that started over 4 years ago. Remember those cult-like people I spoke of in the beginning? I've said it before, and I will say it again. They are my forever family. And the irony in it, what I thought was cult-like was love, something I really didn't know much about. I was well-versed in feelings, but not in love. I came every Wednesday. I listened. I watched. I wanted the joy they had in their hearts. I completed a step study and then started serving. I should be cured, right? Well, tonight I'm going to tell you what I personally have gotten out of Celebrate Recovery. It is only with God's help and only because I sought him with my whole heart. Jeremiah 29:13 tells us, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." So what have I learned through God working in my life through this program and my continued relationship with him? I learned that my heart was hardened, period, very hardened. There were walls up that I didn't think anyone could get through. Think of the walls of Jericho. No coincidence there. I love irony, and God makes me laugh with it all the time. This world and the evil one had me believing lies such as, one day I will finally have enough money, titles, happiness, or even time. Other people are worse than me. I'm a good person. Everyone is against me. Just wait for it. What other people think of me matters. I am too broken. I need to clean up my act before I call out to God. One sin is greater than another. Humility and meekness are weaknesses. Again, this is what the evil one was lying to me about. YOLO, you only live once. Common sense is a thing. Now I believe God intended us to all have different brains. And finally, I got this. I learned step studies are a crucial part of this program. I have gone through quite a few and learned something new every time. Denying or pushing away my pain did not make it go away. Character defects are a direct result of my past, such as pride. First, understanding what it even was. I did not think that someone that was as insecure as I was could be prideful. What pride looked like in my life. I had control issues. I believed that my way was the only way or the only right way. I needed to be heard. I came to realize most people don't care too much about what I think. I needed validation, even if it was just what I wanted to hear. I had issues with authority. No one is the boss of me, and I never would accept help. I could do everything myself. Some more character defects. Self-sabotage. I had to learn that when you are used to chaos, it may be all you know and it's comfortable. I was a runner, and not for health reasons either. If I didn't like it, I would leave. Immature, in other words. My sarcasm towards others was verbal abuse. Nasty language, you may not believe it, but I used to use the F word in every other sentence. I thought it represented my anger very well. Perverted language. I was told that I could make a sailor blush. That is no longer a compliment. I also found that forgiveness equals freedom, giving it and accepting it. Finally understanding that we are all sinners and that we are not perfect, I was able to forgive. It was harder to forgive myself, which led me to ask if I really believed in God. If I believed that God forgave me of my sin, who am I not to forgive myself? Am I better than God? That's pretty darn prideful. This started my surrender. I thank God for sending Jesus to pay for our sin. He was the perfect lamb that took my place, a debt that he did not owe. He paid it all for you and I, a free gift. Debt canceled. I was chained to hell, and he paid the ransom. That doesn't seem like reckless love to me. It is intentional, amazing love. I repented of all my sin, some ugly stuff. I asked for my Father to forgive me, and I trust that he did. I also learned that just because people have hurt me, it doesn't mean that everyone will. I will miss out on a lot of beauty in this life if I'm not receptive to who God may place in it. People will disappoint me, even if I'm doing the right thing. And that is okay. My conscience is clear. I report to Jesus. I just keep walking. Get up and show up. There are many times when I don't feel like coming on Wednesdays or going to church on Sunday. My head hurts, my stomach hurts, everything is going wrong that day. Heck, some even in here have fallen off ladders, while others deal with septic system backups. It just happens, and it is happening for a reason. Imagine your soul being so precious that Jesus died for you, and the devil wants nothing more than to kill, steal, and destroy. I step into faith, not feeling, and I get up and I show up. Feelings are not facts. They come and they go. I now understand that crap in, crap out. What I watch or listen to matters. Remember those monkeys? Hear no, see no, speak no evil? That really hit me the other day. I used to watch a lot of unhealthy things, horror movies, sexual movies. There is not a desire now. Music was an idol for me. This one is a big one for me to admit. I mean, I have music notes tattooed on myself. So it's hard to admit, and my kids will laugh at me for saying it out loud. Rap, Eminem. I had all the albums. I knew all the words. I rocked to his angry lyrics very well. Heavy metal, Metallica was my favorite. Now I just can't listen to any of it. I don't want to. It hurts me. Bad company, not the band, corrupts good character. Let me say that again. Bad company corrupts good character. I remember sitting with my neighbors as they were drinking and shooting the crap. I was like, I'm sober, I'm good, I can do this. No, that's temptation. The drinks and the talk, they were not good for me. Serving others, I've also learned that serving others is a blessing. I don't have to, I get to. Fellowship is very important, and this is coming from someone that quote unquote hated people. For me, when things get nasty, I always want to isolate. That is not from God. Being around fellow believers brings a joy to me, and I know it is just another gift from God. Hebrews 10:24 through 25 says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." I've learned fear, worry, anxiety, and depression do not come from God. If you're a believer, you cannot be depressed, you can be oppressed. Transfer addiction is real. I may be sober from alcohol, but I still have issues with food and Diet Coke. Relapse can happen. I need to be on guard. It happened when I started using oxycodone for back pain. The evil one wants nothing more than this to happen. I can tell you that I almost died as an unbeliever, and if it weren't for that relapse, I would not be born again today. And that is when I surrendered my life to Him. I take one day at a time and pray the Serenity Prayer often. I am in prayer a lot and do it anywhere, even in the bathroom. Today, I am in my Bible. I can't get enough of it. I study it and it fascinates me. I'm a deep thinker and it is deep. I am so thankful for His Word. Trust. I am in one of the worst seasons of my life. Many of you know that my back was injured close to 3 years ago. It has been bad. I waited for pain relief, went through relapse on pain pills, waited for surgery, had surgery, was healed for a month and a half, and the pain returned. I found out that there is a reherniation, and right now I feel like a pincushion from all the shots. With this pain, I've had to ask my family for forgiveness for telling them that I just want to die. It hurts bad, and I cry a lot. Through my tears, I praise Him. I think of heaven where there is no more pain. I trust that He has a plan. His timing is perfect. And through this season, I have only gotten closer to Him, and I'm thankful. 2 Corinthians 12:9, "But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." And continuing on what I've learned, God is love. I have love tattooed on my wrist. Remember, I was the seeker of love. This was a breakthrough for me. I admitted to someone I trust, my beautiful sponsor, that I don't think I know what love is. She said, "Jamie, God is love." What? It all started clicking. Everything I was reading in the Bible was clicking. I never knew love because I did not have God. I was not a believer yet. You can't give what you don't have. Click. I wasn't accepting His love that He so wanted to give me. That was the empty that flooded my heart. I understand that even though I ran from Him, He never gave up on me, and He met me right where I was. I praise God. I am so very thankful today. I am grateful for everything He has, is, and will do in my life. I ask for Him to use me to spread this good news to anyone I can. The quiet people in elevators at my doctor's appointment, they might not appreciate it, but that's all right. Just dropping seeds. I know that I have nothing but, if I have nothing but God, I have everything I need. And let go, let God is not enough. Cling to God for dear life. And I actually listened to my mentor. I read John until I got it. Thank you, Ray, for that. Today, I run to him, my Father. This is where I seek approval. He is the Father I always wanted. My husband, I'll say it, he was right. I had daddy issues all my life until I started following Jesus. I want everyone to know him. This is my life mission. I want to finish with a scripture tonight. Matthew 7:13 through 14. The narrow and wide gates. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. It hasn't been easy, but it has been so worth it. Every day is a recommitment to the Lord. So tonight I ask you, do you know that you're saved? Are you a believer? Are you going to heaven? Because if you do not know the answer, I know a guy. Let me tell you about my Jesus. Thank you for letting me share my testimony with you tonight.